Michael Snyder joins us on Fridays, and Michael talks movies, he talks music, he talks culture, and he is in studio. Michael Snyder, welcome.
Hey, good
Michael.
morning, San Francisco. Hey, Brett. And
Michael is typically at what's the name of your coffee place?
the Royal Ground on Polk Street. We're fighting against the big chains.
Yeah.
We're fighting against the Starbucks and the Pete's and those vile bums at Phil's. Oh, those interlopers, those latecomers.
Well, it's been there for how long? I mean, ever since I've known you.
Most of my life. Actually, people don't know this. I was actually conceived at the Royal Grounds.
Okay. All right, Michael. Now, we just had Henri Dauman on that Looking Up, and I know you're a fan of the movie drops today, Looking Up.
Right.
And you've seen it, right?
I have. He's a lovely man, an amazing story, and one of the great eyes in American photograph history. And I had the good fortune to be at an opening a number of years ago, and apparently they had cameras going because I am in the documentary briefly pontificating apparently to this man who I should be kneeling before because of his great talent. And I was so shocked.
So you're saying there's a cutaway of you in here?
Yeah, I was shocked to see myself on there, and I went, guy looks okay. And I don't mean Henri.
All right, what do you got for us? What do you got for us?
Let's go full Bay Area for a moment because Emeryville's own Pixar Studios, obviously affiliated with Disney, have come up with a new film, as they are wont to do in their latest computer-animated feature. Onward is a visual treat, set in a fantasy world where magical creatures, elves, wizards, centaurs, there's even a manticore, a couple of fairies, they have dispensed with magic and have embraced technology and a banal suburban lifestyle that looks very 1950s, 1960s sitcom. And in this world, two teenage elf brothers, an older, outgoing, hot rod, Dungeons and Dragons playing, kind of brash one voiced by Chris Pratt, and a younger, more timid and reserved one voiced by Tom Holland. That's right. Marvel's two Peters, Peter Quill and Peter Parker of the movies, are united as animated siblings. They go on a quest to bring back a little magic at the behest of the younger brother. It turns out that their late dad was still a purveyor of the mystical arts, and if the boys could use a staff and a spell of his, they can actually spend one day with deceased dad. So there's a lot of emotional content afoot here.
Wow.
But this doesn't sit well with Mom, who's voiced by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's now in a relationship with the local cop who's one of those centaurs, and I'm afraid to even think what goes on in the boudoir there between Mom and the centaur.
Oh, my God.
Let's just
Michael,
say,
please.
The brothers are undaunted, especially when the younger one shows signs of kind of having magical skills.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
Yeah, thank you, exactly.
The spell goes wrong. Let's put it that way.
What time is the centaur going to be by?
There's a series of lowbrow slapstick jokes. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Look, it's hard to argue with the technical end of the movie. Pixar is the best on that front. They mix kind of whimsical, amazingly fluid characters amid settings that are realistic and fanciful. And, look, the movie maker's hearts are in the right place, but it's a tale that feels like it could have been made by DreamWorks or Blue Sky or Leica. It doesn't, when you see a movie like The Incredibles or Inside Out by Pixar, you've seen something remarkable, touching, funny, endlessly creative. And this is a little more pedestrian. It drags a little here and there, but that said, it's well done, and it's directed with heart by Dan Scanlon, even if it does get a little self-indulgent.
And that Dan Scanlon, he did what? He's
been working there for a while.
Yeah,
but
he wrote it too, I think.
Yeah. This is his. This is something very personal to him, and despite all that, it does seem a little obvious in places, and the sentiment looks, a little. I'm not going to say it's cheap, but it earns most of it. Look.
So
it's Pixar, laudable family entertainment.
So you're saying it really you can't miss with it in some sense, but you're saying you would have liked to have seen a little bit more from it.
A little more. And it's funny, in a mystical bag of sorts, we have a live-action movie called Extraordinary, and it's a very funny, good-natured combo of paranormal horror and romantic comedy set in a small Irish town. This is a lot of fun, too. And there are ghosts, demonic possession, ectoplasmic barf. I mean, there's also a dumpy but earnest driving instructor who can communicate with The Departed, including her late ghost-busting dad, 2 dead dads, 2 movies. Wow, who would have thought?
Wow.
There's a hapless husband haunted by his dead wife, and that guy's virgin teenage daughter who is targeted as a sacrifice to the devil by a desperate one-hit American rocker who's been living in the area for years and unable to mount a comeback. And that guy with satanic aspirations is played by SNL's Will Forte, and he's pretty funny.
Oh, he is so great.
This is someone who will do anyone and do anything to ensure that his next album's going to be a Grammy winner, a smash hit, get him back to the top after years as an expat has been. I mean, it's funny stuff.
It's called Extraordinary?
Extraordinary.
Okay, 2 words, Extraordinary.
Especially if you can handle the Irish accents, they occasionally obfuscate the amusing dialogue. But those are our 2 mystical, magical movies back-to-back that are opening in the Bay Area today.
That's great. Okay, so, and you're saying, it sounds like they're both pretty decent picks.
Yes.
But you're not going to walk out going, oh, my God, that's one of the best movies I've seen in the last 10 years.
Absolutely not going to do that. Also, just quickly, opening today, Greed, a movie we both saw, which is about a profligate businessman with a shady background who decides to throw a lavish 60th birthday party for himself on a Greek island.
It's absolutely Berlusconi, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is who they are.
Well, it's that sort of thing. This guy is coming from the garment industry, but it's that kind
of... Greed. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the other movie, the Italian movie.
No, this is Greed. This is the one with
Greed
Steve
is with
Coogan.
Steve Coogan. Yeah.
And terrific supporting cast, including Isla Fisher and, one of my favorites from the UK, one of the co-stars of Peep Show, David Mitchell, is also in it, which is funny and dark and crazy, maybe not to everyone's taste, but that's also out there, as is a...
it is kind of dark. I mean, you think it's going to be funny, and then it kind of gets dark.
It's directed by Michael Winterbottom, who teamed up with Steve Coogan on 24-Hour Party People, a wonderful docu-comedy about the rise of the Manchester sound in the late 80s, early 90s in the UK, which is highly recommended. And I enjoyed Greed, but it's going to put a few people off, I'm sure.
It really fillets the indulgent super wealthy. I mean, I'm talking about the .com jillionaires. I mean, this is really a kind of and it does it in a clever way, but it's also it is dark in spots.
And grisly. And just for you more high-flown, highbrow people, Burden, the docudrama about the KKK member who begins to question his beliefs when he falls in love with a young woman in a small Carolina town. And, in fact, a good performance by Garrett Hedlund and a very good performance by Forrest Whitaker as the local black preacher who takes these guys in when things go awry. And, that's called Burden, and it's also out there right now.
Yeah, now you like that? Because I saw some good reviews on that.
It was solid,
okay.
Again, it tells a story that people should be interested to hear and see. And again, really good performances by Hedlund as the former KKK guy, and Forrest Whitaker. Does he give a bad performance?
Right, he's so talented. All right, so review for us then. If you're looking for a solid film, that Pixar film you feel is Onward is a good one.
Onward for the family, not to be confused with Onward Christian Soldiers. That would be the right-wing equivalent. But instead, what we have here is another Pixar movie that's going to probably do well. And
good for the family. Then Extraordinary is another one that you like a lot.
Funny, brash, a little grisly at places because it's got the horror aspects.
You like Greed, but Greed is a little on the dark side and can be a little grisly in a couple of spots.
In its way. And Burden is a well-meaning docudrama that can probably play well on video. So, you have, a quartet of interesting films. Nothing that's going to shake the world of filmmaking, but, we like a little entertainment.
Get back down to Polk Street and save that Royal Grounds from those big bad developers, Michael Snyder.
I'm doing what I can.
Michael Snyder, thanks for joining us. Always love it when you stop by. When we come back, Pat Thurston joins us, and we will figure out what's going on Pat's show. Also check social media, and we'll do it next on KGO.